melt me like that. I have 400 toughness.
The enemy is attacking.
I mean, I'm literally killing people with like 20 bullets right now.
Fortification.
Called not using Lone Star and not trying to be a fucking special snowflake and just use what's good.
We have Bravo.
Well, that's fair. I'm trying a new build, but
yeah, you don't do all kind of things you do.
Melts, dude.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. I'm Matty Carlin. Today we are back with another Let's Talk on the Division. That's right, the Ghost Recon Wildlands demo was just for the weekend, and we are now back playing The Last Stand and testing out some new builds. The build I am running is actually some exotics and a couple of mint green pieces, so no sets active, and we will have a FAMAS and an AUG, and I must say, remember back in 1.1 when AUGs were the shit? And they were the end-all be-all of weapons? Well, I must say they are back in a big way. I enjoy it. I feel good with this AUG, and I like, it's a viable weapon again. Maybe I'll review the 1.6 AUG in my next video because I feel like something's changed and they didn't put it in. So there you have it. If you're not playing with the AUG, grab an AUG, try it out, see what it's like. If you took the Last Stand survey today, you will notice that one of the sections in the survey dealt with PVE in the Last Stand, and while I know it was there, I thought it seemed more like a side thing to do when I was playing it, and just, you stop doing PVE when you had enough points. But the survey made it seem like it should actually be something of what people do, and that's what we're talking about today. Now, on most maps in the PvE and the PvP and the Last Stand, there's a few things that need shade tech. So for all those things, there are turrets, pulse, and points multiplier. Outside of the PvE is a waste. There's nothing else to do outside of those things. So if you have all of those things active, anything extra is just wasted, which should not be the point of the PvE in this game. Also, this video here is me trying to see if I just focus on PvE and not the actual PvP, just to see if I, as a PvE support player, can help my team. That's all I'm doing in this video. So you might see me do a little PvP, but really what I'm doing, I'm just trying to do PvP or PvE. That way we can go ahead and get in there, and that is the purpose. So the purpose of PvE is to get the shade tech and kill enemies, but if you don't need the shade tech, what's the point of killing NPCs? Well, there isn't any. And for the most part, people ignore them. People just run by them, and that shouldn't be the case. Like, when I was playing today, I saw people just running by all of the NPCs, and they were shooting, and nobody gave a crap about them. And like rogues in the Dark Zone, most people just run past them. They do very little damage. They're just more of an inconsequential little thing that gets in your way, and it's not even close to being a thing. My personal opinion is that NPCs and the PvE playstyle should give you an equivalent amount of points for doing well in the DZ and the Last Stand, just doing the PvP portion. And for the most part, if you combine PvE with base defense and getting your fortification up along with the points, you can actually get a good number of points. But it's just never anywhere near the top of the team and the main PvP players. Well, if your team is terrible, you could probably get up there, but it's not going to happen if you have a really good PvP player on your team. Now, I do think that there should be a greater emphasis on the NPCs, and not because it's a PvE event, but because it's meant to be a combined op, and that getting the shade tech should be pointless after a certain point. And that's really what people are missing here. It's not, the Last Stand isn't just PvP. Yes, it is PvP the way we want it, but it's not PvP solely. It's PvE with PvP combined in it, like the Dark Zone, and that's what they meant it to be, and I think a lot of us really missed that point. I haven't seen anybody talking about PvE in the Last Stand, and there's nothing, everybody missed the point of that. And it wasn't until today in the survey that we took that I realized that they were actually trying to get PvE and make this a combined op so that everybody has something to do. So PvE players can go into this area and they can actually be be of some support and they feel like they're doing something, they can take part in the last stand, even if they're not a PvP player. So that's really what that's about. And that, there's a lot of things. Now, I do think that we should be, we shouldn't focus solely on the PvE, and because that's not what it's meant to be. One of the original ideas that I had was to make it so that if you were in an alternate player spawn point, and this is, because shade tech is worthless after a certain point. After you've used up all of your shade tech and you got all this stuff activated, shade tech's pointless. So, if you're in a player spawn and, they held B or whatever it was, then you'd have to use shade tech to actually break that link between like A and B, so that you would actually have to, use that to actually break that link, because it's shade tech and stuff like that. It eliminates the ability for people to just sneak around and, because a lot of times people just sneak around to the back and they're like, oh, here's A. I went from C to A and it's an easy win for me. I'm just going to take this point. I'm going to kill a turret. I'm going to take this point, and then by the time they get back there, I'll already have a bunch of points, and then they'll kill me, and that's it. That's not the way it should be. You shouldn't be able to just sneak around behind a base. That is failing to help your team on the front line. It would also, this kind of thing would also force you to PvP a bit. If you were low on shade tech, and you're on the way there because you knew you were going to be behind their base and getting their spawn point shut off, shouldn't it take shade tech to just turn that stuff off? I think so. I think that's what it is. Now, that's not all. There really is a disconnect with the deposit system, and it would really ensure that people did a bit more PvE, or some people focused on PvE while others didn't, by providing reasons to actually PvE. Now, I'm not sure what it could possibly be, but anything making PvE give a small benefit to doing it would be an increased reason to actually do it. Right now, people barely PvE. I am like one of the only people, I see enemies, I just run over and kill them. I do see a few people who PvE, but it's so few and far between. Most people want to have the glory of being their team's kill death winner, so that they can wave their donger of victory in the other person's face while they're trying to teabag somehow. But you could even make it so that if your team is behind, you can purchase a supply drop that gives them a pulse to show where all the enemies are in the middle of the map, a damage boost for 30 seconds, a defense boost for 60 seconds, or something to help the losing team get back, on ground, like they make up that ground that they had, and just use the shade tech, and when you get to a certain point behind, that kind of pops up. You can go over and do shade tech, and you can actually get that, and that would be a way to increase people's actual PvP involvement or PvE involvement. And now that I've talked about PvE, I told you my thoughts. Now I'm going to tell you how to do it and how to get the most out of it and how to get the most points, because in case you weren't aware, because most people aren't PvEing. And the best way of PvE is simply run around killing the red dudes near your base, because they respawn pretty fast and they give you money or shade tech. And if you want a ton of points, kill them while you're in the base's pulse area, because not only do you get points for killing them, you get points for defending. Now, next, go to the landmarks on the map. You'll get 3 waves of enemies, which include a wave of veterans with one named guy, a second wave with just a few veterans, and then a final wave of veterans with another named guy. You get a ton of points because named veterans actually count as a kill. It counts as like a player kill, so you actually get the points. There's 2 landmarks on every map, and most of the time, most of them are empty because people just don't care about them. They don't want to go PvE, and they, you can go get yourself 4 easy kills right there and get 2,000 points or whatever it is. Now, just because you have decided that you can do that, you too can't PvE. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be out there helping your team. Just because you can PvE doesn't mean you shouldn't be helping your team. You should be the first person back to the base when you hear someone attacking a fortification. And these guys who attack your base, these guys back in the back, they are easy peasy kills. You should have no problem taking them down. Even if you are the worst PvP player, you can take them down. All you gotta do is wait for them to start taking one of your fortifications, like one of the things where you press F and you have to hold it for like 3 seconds to get to activate. All you got to do is walk up, throw a grenade, and shoot them in the head. That is it. They go down like a sack of shit, and it is easy to pick these guys off. Like, you just walk up behind them. They don't even know. They're not even paying attention because they think that they're so slick that they went around behind and that they didn't notice some guy just standing there. So you're going to have an easy time. Seriously, these guys are the easiest people to kill, and you just wait. These guys are so easy peasy. Just do that, and then you also get points for putting up your fortification and recapturing your base. This is the easy peasy style pro tip right there from Mounty Carl. So now, once you are done, you should have a decent amount of points once you finish it, and you can be proud of that. Just because you're a PVE player doesn't mean you can't go into a PvP zone and get some points. Someone who doesn't PvP went into the last stand and contributed to your team's win, or maybe you helped them lose. Who knows? You could have helped them lose. Either way, you went in there, you did it, you participated, and it was your play style that you wanted to play and not being forced into the PvP that worked for you. That is really what this is about. It's about you choosing the play style that you want to choose in this mode, because it's not just PvP, it's both. It's a combined op. This is what they meant for you to do. They didn't mean for it to be just PvP only. Yes, there's going to be PvP, and that is how you are going to win, but you cannot win without people PvEing as well. So that is something that you guys got to think about when you go into the last stand, and I applaud them. I applaud Massive for doing this. This is actually brilliant, and I wouldn't have even thought that they would have had any, with all that's going on, I wouldn't have thought that they would have even thought about this, but it is what it is, and I enjoy it. I think it's a great part of the game. I just want to see it implemented a little bit stronger. I think it needs to be a little bit higher on the importance of, if one guy is doing it or two guys are doing it, that is the goal. That is the main thing. Like, as long as those two guys are doing it, everything else should be fine. And you should, I got 16,000 points, and that's all I did for this round. That's all I did. I just did PVE. Well, I did a little bit of PvP because I ran back to kill the guy that was doing, killing the fortifications at our base. But that's it. 16,000 points. That's not a bad score. That's like a run-of-the-mill score if you're not good at PvP. That is like being able to PvP and get killed a bunch of times. I actually just went and PvP'd. I tried both sides. I went and did the PvE. I got 16,000 points. I went and did PvP, and I sucked it up because people, you're not getting kills every single time. People steal your kills, people steal your finishers. It is a very competitive area up at the front when you're doing PvP. PvE, not competitive at all. You can sit back, you can enjoy yourself, soak up all the points you want. You can get a ton of points. And the more points you get, the more caches you get, the more rewards you get, and more experience that you get. So there you go. I'm just giving you these pro tips, and that's it. So that's my time. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like because your mama thinks it's nice to drop likes on videos. Consider subscribing to our channel, or better yet, just subscribe. And if you don't like it in the future, all you did was just sub to my channel, and you can always unsub later. And you can get some good tips and tricks as we bring out some builds for going in the last stand. And right now my build is garbage, it's doo-doo, which is why I'm doing a lot of PvE, but as you can see. So that's pretty much it, and you can be like, hey, Mounty Carl, all right. It looks like Massive is finishing up the last stand PTS here pretty quickly. I'd say in the next week. We probably got one more week of PTS, and that should be it. And then, maybe they'll do a week of testing, and then this is going to come out. So it's actually going to wrap up fairly quickly here. So we may have a date in the next week or two during the stay of the game. So I'm looking forward to it. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the last stand. Agent out.